And happy Saturday, everybody, and welcome to a foggy day here at Woodbine Racetrack. My name is Elisa Blow, joined as always by Jeff Brad as we get set for 8 races today, including the kickoff to stakes season. This race today, the feature race, will be the Star Shoot for 3-year-old fillies. And only one horse competing in the event today is actually a horse who's eligible for our big stakes event, the Oaks and the Plate. Now, that is quite significant. We have a lot of shippers coming into town today. And
tomorrow as well for our stake race, too. So I think a lot of these connections south of the border have had this race kind of pinpointed for a little while. And I'm not necessarily sure that a lot of our locals are ready for a race like that at this point of the proceedings, too. So the work tab was extremely busy yet again today. We're going to get to the recap with Ernie here in a couple of seconds. We'll keep an eye on that. But, you know, things are going to start to heat up here in the not-too-distant future. We had 7 races each day. Last week, we got 8 races each day. This week, hopefully for the Derby program, we were able to get a 10-race card. That would be nice for next weekend. The Derby's a week away, which is absolutely crazy. But how about this weather and the roller coaster ride that we're having right now?
No kidding. I mean, it's done nothing but rain here, and it will have some effect on this racetrack because historically what we've seen is when we have wet weather, speed holds and the rail is the place to be.
Will that happen today, though?
I have a funny feeling.
You think so? I don't know, because they did dig up the track a little bit when we were not racing.
That is true.
There was a lot of kickback on opening weekend. We'll see if that trend continues. The rain tends to help that out a little bit, too. So we'll see. That definitely, though, the works were slowish this morning.
And one of the big fillies on the work tab this morning is a horse who just happened to win a Sovereign Award. We celebrated the Sovereigns on Thursday night. Jeff Corsia Veloce back on the work tab today. She was a Sovereign Award winner. There were some surprises this year, but you know, a few of the old faves won.
Yep, and just great to see everybody, you know, get all dressed up and come out for one night. It's tough with the training being so early now. A lot of people had to kind of just scoot their way out right when the night ended because train is so early. And one guy that's won a fair number of Sovereign Awards was in the news just the other day, and that being Patrick Husbands.
Yeah, breaking news. We just heard that Patrick Husbands has announced his retirement, but I want everybody to read this quote that's below as well, because he's retired once in the past and came back.
At least once in the past.
At least once in the past and come back. So the way he's kind of left it with this quote that says, I can say I'm retired, but next year I might wake up in the morning and decide I want to do it again, kind of indicates that maybe we're not quite shut down from race riding, but we won't be seeing him in the entries at least this season, possibly. But I could still see if somebody had a superstar for Plate Day, him thinking, maybe I should do this.
Yeah, Cassie's on the phone, says, I got a good one for you. And it sounds like you're still going to be working some horses for Mark and for his brother, Anthony, as well, so that'll be kind of cool. But fantastic career, if this is the end, and that is a big if. Then we wish him all the best because he's been a great ambassador for us here at Woodbine. He's won a bunch of big races. He's in the Hall of Fame. Just a fantastic career. Alrighty,
let's talk about what happened this morning and the conditions that Ernie Perry passed along our way. I did talk to some trainers. I know you did as well this morning, Jeff. And most of the trainers all came back with exactly the same thing, saying the track was extremely heavy, extremely slow this morning. So keep that in mind when you're looking at some of these works from today.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how the track plays today for sure. And the work of the day was a horse that hasn't run in a year that just moved to the barn of Dale Diverseau. That 47-4, that's probably like a 46 and change on a regular day, I would say. We'll see if that one's able to have some success. Speaking of the Sovereigns, Dale was in attendance with his wife, and he will win a Sovereign Award with one of his horses before the year is out. That's going to be my prediction, because I think he's absolutely loaded this year.
He is, talk about young blood with some
really good horses and his outfits. We'll keep
an Oaks horse, a Plate horse. He's got a little bit of everything in there, and he's attracted some new owners as well.
That's true. Now, you know me, Elisa, I am usually always on top of the birthdays because of Facebook. But I blew it last Sunday. I missed a birthday. Yeah, it was Aislinn Goodyear's birthday. We call her Pinky. She does the color silks for us here. So Pinky, I apologize for missing your birthday. But it wasn't entirely my fault because Facebook is my reminder and I don't really have a great memory.
Okay, let's get into the meat and potatoes of the show, shall we? Starting with our first topic of the day today, which is some statistics that we want to pass along your way. And these are actually going to help you out for your handicapping, possibly, over the next couple of weeks here, so you can have a chance to see just how things have played out, where these winners have been coming from, what's the strong post positions, you know, what's the style been for winners here. And this is the first trend so far, which is winter raced horses versus some of our local horses, and some of our local horses, especially from the Matini outfit, and well, Deb Ramis's horses came up from racing at Turfway. Turfway horses still continue to be really good shippers that you want to play here, but the Woodbine-based horses held their own as well.
They did. I picked a Matini horse tomorrow just because he had a big weekend last weekend.
Why not?
And then he had such a busy spring, so I kind of jumped onto that bandwagon. But none of these stats, I guess the one stat that would surprise us a little bit would be that the locals did as well as they did because it was such a tough winter. But when we have a lot of short distance races, that does help out the situation. Now, this is of zero surprise. This is exactly how it went last year with the rail and post 2 being very, very good, especially in the short distance races.
Exactly. So, you know, these, of course, will add some more winners onto it over the next couple of days, and obviously maybe some things will change. The other thing, too, is to talk about the style, and no surprise here to see that speed dominated.
Yeah, that's going to be what's going to happen. But now we're starting to stretch things out a little bit. Like our first race of the day is at 6.
Yep.
I think tomorrow we have a 7/8 race, don't we?
So things are going to go a little longer.
Before you know it, we'll be going around 2 turns. I think there's a 2-year-old race coming out in the not too distant future as well. So yeah, like things are going to heat up a little bit. And I'll tell you, I came out around 9 o'clock to watch works. This was me this morning at 6:30.
What? You were up this morning?
That's the thing. So 6:30, I'm just looking at the ceiling like this. I'm like, well, I might as well get up and go to the races and watch some works. And Janice Main, who is of course Reed Baker's partner, she says to me, "Wow, you're up early."
That's at 9:30.
No, it was 9 o'clock.
It was 9 o'clock.
I got here at 9 o'clock. Yeah, so I watched some works upstairs.
Did you? I'm shocked. I'm absolutely shocked. I didn't know your alarm clock.
I might have to have a siesta halfway through the day, but I did make it here a little bit early.
I thought the Patrick Husband's retiring thing was breaking news. That's breaking news, that you woke up early this morning and came out to watch works. All right, let's get into our second topic, which is where we're going to find race number 3 on the program today. So we are talking about horses who raced this winter in the United States. In the third race, it's an optional 50, going 6.5 furlongs. You got Shifty, who was last seen racing at Oaklawn. You got Lutz de la Luna, who was last seen racing at Gulfstream. Zoli, who was down at Turfway. Aqueduct for Per Factor. And only one horse that has been conditioned here, and that was War Signal. However, War Signal was based down south in Florida throughout the winter months as well. So a lot of these horses having good foundations and being winter raced.
And there might be a name on the past performance page that you're not familiar with, and that's Audrey Chung. We're going to catch up with her when she saddles her first horse coming up in race number 3. She was with the Drexler Barn for quite a long time as one of his assistants, and now she's taken over the training with some of his horses. And the last time this Luz de la Luna ran, lost to American Women, and that horse made it onto the Clocker horse board last week, and that's a Kevin Attard horse that's very, very promising. So the one thing that I like about her is I think there's a lot of pace in this race, and one of the pace horses potentially is going to be Zoli. Kelsey Danner, who you have on top with Zoli, she could win about 3 or 4 races this weekend.
I think so.
She was absolutely loaded early on in the meet here.
You have to pay attention to her. Anytime she ships horses up here, she's not coming for fun. And she often will use Sofia Vivez, and that's been a really strong jockey-trainer combination. So yeah, I put Kelsey Danner on top with Sofia and Zoli just simply because one thing I remembered from last year as we got set for opening day was to pay attention to the Turfway
100%.
horses. And again, it paid off because we had lots of winners coming in from Turfway. Maybe not all of them were winners, but they were hitting the top 3. And so you really need to pay attention to this one. The thing about Lutz de la Luna is, I think the $1 million question or the $50,000 question is, does she get claimed here today? Yep. Does she go back to the Dave Borsk outfit? Because she's gone back and forth and back and forth, and home is certainly in the Borsk barn. But one thing I'm not sure about with her, too, is the fact that she just worked at Palm Meadows and then she got
it's a quick ship. Yeah, it's a quick ship for sure. But the one thing that I really like about her, well, first of all, she loves it here, but there's a lot of pace for her to chase in this spot, too. So, and she gets an American rider, Ruben Silvera, aboard. I'm not sure if his plan is to stay with us all season long, or he's just come up for the weekend, but he's had a very nice career in New York.
Yeah, there's lots of new riders on today's program. This room is getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
We have more riders in the room than horses on the card.
You're 100% right. And you know what? That makes for some really ruthless, business on the backstretch because, there are some great riders on the card today that have one horse. And then, there's certainly a lot of fighting going on back there.
And one other thing, in the first race of the day today, Austin Adams is going to have his first ride as a journeyman.
Yeah.
With, Night Striker.
That's exciting too.
Yeah, he's lost his apprenticeship. So, and nice to see one of his horses, little Teddy, pick up some hard
That
work
was
the other
cool.
day.
I have to admit, that was one I was really, really excited about when I saw that horse win a Sovereign Award. Okay, let's go over to our next topic, which comes up in race number 4, a $7,500 claimer, non-winners of 2 life. And, you know, you can look at this race in a couple of different ways. You know, if you have a horse who was a private sale, Serenading Amaya. You have some horses here that haven't, you know, been at the races in a long time. Some that want to stretch out and go a little bit further. But you do have a horse who's coming in from Mahoning Valley, and that's Save the Date. And you wanted to talk about the replay on this one.
Do you think I'll ever send out a Save the Date invitation? Gonna be 50 this year, Elisa. I don't like
Maybe
my
for your
chances.
50th birthday
I don't
party.
like my chances.
I would say it's for your birthday.
Yeah, my birthday, that's right. See me at Chuck E. Cheese.
We can do our birthdays together at Chuck E.
That's
Cheese.
right. There
Yeah.
you go. So here's a look at Save the Dates. Winter race, as Lisa said, and had a really, really wide journey on this day. We're under a real hard drive at this point of the proceedings. The winner is right on our inside, and we're never going to beat the winner. But the one thing that I do like is she grinds her way to the second place finish. This is not a replay that you're going to pick with a past performance page and say, man, she ran terrific, but she's fit. And we know that here based on how hard she had to run in this particular event, and she never really stopped. Over the winter time, she raced here in October, then went down to Mahoning, and actually had a great deal of success. Never won a race, but ran well. The question mark with her is 5.5 furlongs, and that's the question mark with Serenading Amaya on this spot. Can they be effective in here? Now, the million-dollar question is, what do we do with Sobiak?
Yep.
Because you might remember, Sobiak won a very light 40 last October, but things have not gone well so far this season. Having said that, she finds a very beatable group here today.
Exactly, and I think a lot of us are going to just flip-flop between these two horses. It's either the 6 or it's the 2, and the 2 is hard to resist because it's Kevin Attard and Pietro Moran, and we know how good that jockey-trainer combination is. But you know what? Congratulations to Kevin Buttigieg on a really good winter down in Mahoning Valley. He's clicking at a 20% average, and obviously with 80 starters, he was very busy down there this winter.
It's so tough training down there because the track, if you watch Mahoning, I would say 90% of the time the track's sloppy.
You got to find a horse that likes the wet track.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I can't imagine how tough it is to train down there.
I don't know, but you know what? His right-hand woman does a lot of great work, his wife. Alrighty, let's go over to our next topic, which comes up for us in race number 5. That's the optional 40, as we get a chance to go 3/4 of a mile. So as Jeff had mentioned, we do stretch out a little bit more here over the next couple of days. The first race on the card goes 3/4 of a mile. This race goes 3/4 of a mile as well, the optional 40 with the field of 6. And I've got it down to 2. The 1, Tequila Supernova, who is going to be fast. You look at these workouts, it indicates all systems go for this filly, who will likely be gunning right from the gate. And then you get the winter-trained horse, Bound to Be True, for Nathan Squires.
And 2 totally different types of running style. You're going to have the speed. You're picking Tequila Supernova on top. I don't mind that by any means. I guess if it was 5/8, I'd probably pick her, but I'm just a little bit worried about going 3/4. The fact that bedtime might put some pressure on her. Now, bedtime is a one-time winner that's skipping a condition. Not that surprising this time of the year, but it does have that winter racing and winter training. But I did
but has a line that's a little scary,
I
Jeff.
know. And there's one even worse on tomorrow's card with a horse that's, I think, from the Churcott barn that bled and didn't really have a good race last time out. But this is Gail, and she owns the horse, so she knows obviously where to kind of place her in here. But Bound to Be True, she's winter race. She comes out of an extremely difficult race last time out. The 4th place finisher came back to win a non-1 at Turfway. This one finished in front of that one. Can we make up ground today? Because as that graphic with all that great data showed us, it was very difficult to make up ground last week. But now we're going 6 furlongs.
I know.
So it's a totally different ballgame.
I know. I had a tough time with it, but I just figured I'd go with the speed, even though I do like Nathan's horse as well. I would say box him, just in case. And by the time it gets to the 5th race, we'll know what this track is going to be like. So we'll have a better idea on who we think will win the 5th race on the program. So 5th race on today's card has that field of 6 as we move over to our next topic, which comes up in race number 6, and that's the optional 40 going 3/4 of a mile. This is a neat little race for the Beg Barn. They've got a nice 1-2 punch in here with bookends. They've got Paget Queen from the inside with Raffi and Sipping History from the outside with Cave, and they are clearly workmates. They have been working together since the end of March.
I think they've been buddies for longer than that.
Yeah,
even.
probably.
You look back at last season, I think when they were down in Florida training like in February of last year, and they were going pretty good from the start of the year towards the end of the year. And poor slip in history, had some bad luck to wrap up the campaign, lost the iron coming out of the starting gates. Pageant Queen had some outside draws on that particular season and didn't really get setups in here. Now they're going to do a little bit of tweaking in here. So Pageant Queen, the blinkers come off, and now Sip in History gets onto Lasix a little bit as well. I think the break is going to potentially do these horses a world of good. However, I'm going to go towards Alluring Amy because I'm trying to find somebody that's going to track in this race. And the way that the Tiller barn's gone, especially with Fukumoto,
yes,
so, and he does get the call here. I think they're moving up to face tougher, obviously, but I think she fits in this spot.
Yeah, the only thing that concerns me about her, Jeff, is that work two back that has the H beside it.
Yeah, that's very, very valid. That threw me off with Midnight Mascot tomorrow. You're right. I don't really like the Handleys all that much.
But I will say, and I think you brought this up last weekend, we're seeing a lot more Handleys. And that might be because of the condition of this racetrack, that it has been so slow that maybe riders are thinking, man, I don't think I'm going that fast. Maybe I better give her a little,
Or, on the other hand, if they're not fit, they're going to give you that, thinking that they're tiring out on you,
I know. Well, that's what I mean. And then I don't know. But to me, there's way more H's around this year than there were last year.
And it is subjective, too. So to the individual clockers. But you're right. I would say there's definitely more H's than what we're used to seeing. Whereas in California, everything's handily.
That's right. So I just, like I said, I'm the same as you. Whenever I see that,
I know.
when a 2-year-old does it, I'm cool with it because I know we got to set him down at some point and let him feel the stick a little bit. But these are some horses.
And some are lazy if they work by themselves. They need company, So it's but more often I'm with you. I much prefer the B than the H.
Exactly. Let's go to race number 7, which is our first stakes race of the 2026 campaign. This is the Star Shoot for $125,000. It can be used as a stepping stone on the road to the Oaks, but not for anybody except for the 7 in this race today, because everybody else is either there's a lot of Kentucky breds, there's a Virginia bred, but everybody else is pretty much Kentucky bred, with the exception of the 7 Likely Story, who was bred here. This one comes in off of winter training down in Ocala for conditioner Mark Cassie, who, by the way, won the Sovereign Award on Thursday night for Trainer of the Year.
16 times, I think it's won that now. Yeah. Holy, he's like the Montreal Canadiens when it comes to the Stanley Cup. I like this race because you've got horses coming from all kinds of different locales. You've got different running styles as well. You've got a maiden taking on some winners. You've got some horses being supplemented. We've got Savachi back at Woodbine in here. But let's fire up the replay machine a little bit in this race. We'll start off with day to day because this was a very adventurous replay that we want to take a look at from Turfway back on March the 7th. So we're going to highlight the horse coming out of the starting gates. And this is a very rude start. Gets pinballed all over the place. But then we're going to show you, here it is right here. Right there. Boom, boom. Just gets squeezed right there. But now watch this. We're going to pick this up all the way until they go into the turn. This horse, to me, does not like to kick back. Because watch what the rider's going to do. He will take this horse way towards the outside in here. And right here is our horse. And you can tell, I think that's because this one does not like the kickback going on. So if this was the track from last week, I'd be very concerned about this horse's chances.
Well, that's the first time that this horse also tried synthetic too, right?
Very valid point. So now let's get to a later portion of the race and just watch how this horse finishes up in here. We are second last in this portion of the race. And I love the way that she comes home. And I might add that the best race she ever ran, first time Lasix, and she gets to remain on Lasix in here, but she's covering a ton of ground in here. She doesn't, to me, just judging by her stride, it doesn't look like she's got a wicked turn of foot, but she can just kind of gradually come home in here, and she just runs at a racetrack in here. She's only going to lose by about a length and a quarter. The barn is an unbelievable outfit, but doesn't have the same stats here at Woodbine for whatever reason. But I really like the chances of day to day. Now, I'm going to toss another interesting name in here, and this is Lakota Lady. So Lakota Lady, 2 starts ago, was in against Maiden Company. And I think it was on one of their big days, like the Louisiana Derby Day or something like that, and ran against a horse by the name of Goodall, who's 4-5 in this race. Goodall, since then, has come back to win a stake race at Oaklawn with a 94 buyer. And this horse gives Goodall everything, and I mean everything that she can handle in this race. So Lakota Lady right now gets a nice setup in here. They go quickly. Look at the fractions in here. I mean, they're really skedaddling in this spot. 44 and change, and they go the opening quarter in 21 and 2. But here we are on the outside, and This rider's really asking on the inside with the Spendthrift horse, and they just simply cannot get by. But now in hindsight, we know how good this inside horse was in this race. Now, I think what absolutely killed the Quarter Lake last time out, Elisa, was they changed styles. The horse dueled through a half of 44 and 2. And I think we get back to a bit of a stalking style. This barn uncorked a very nice first-time start just the other day as well. So I like that in here. And then your horse on the inside, Golden Thread. I mean, it's just a sloppy racetrack that caught the best of the horse last time.
That's what I'm going to say, because if you look at the 2 races at Turfway on a synthetic surface, you're going to see some pretty good races, including a maiden special weight win there. I just say forget about the last race at Keeneland in the slop. And now they've come here for one thing, and the thing that they've come here for is our synthetic surface. I think, just like some of the other horses in here, like say this Money horse for Joe Sharp has come here for Lasix. Right? So, you know, there's some horses, like even this Known as Love, this is the Kevin Attard horse, never been on a synthetic surface before as far as racing. Now has trained on it here, works well on the synthetic surface, but has yet to race on it. So in that case, you don't get the kickback. You know, let's see, because I think you bring up a really valid point with Day to Day, who just didn't like that in her face at all.
No, she was very uncomfortable with what was going on in there, but... and the only previous time she was on the synthetic, she was on the front end. That's right. So,
so she wouldn't have felt anything there either.
What a cool race, though. You know, for a field of 7, I really like it.
And you're right, like with the weather today, too, that might prevent some of that kickback from happening as well. It looks like it's stopped raining. Okay, maybe I shouldn't have said that. But it's not as bad as it was. And I did hear that it should dry up sometime this afternoon. And then tomorrow, we're in for a gorgeous day. So race number 7, the first stakes event of the 2026 campaign, as we move over to race number 8, which is where we play the jackpot high 5, which has a carryover of more than $34,000. Now, we did not play the jackpot high 5 in the last race last Sunday because we had a scratch in that race, and as a result, we had to take that wager away. So we've only offered it on opening day. So now we're offering it again here with a field of 7 with $7,500 claimers, and these are the head scratcher races, Jeff, because these are those, you know, non-winners of 3 or non-winners of a race in a year, and they are sometimes very tough to sort through, and you've got to try and find the best of the bunch in this spot. Chirkop's had a very, very good beginning to his season, but this horse certainly shows speed and backs away. Then you have Mardine, who was down at Turfway for Sylvain Pion. Now, this horse was trained by somebody different. Larry Smith had this horse. He's a 23% trainer, had the horse down at Turfway, and the races I know aren't fantastic. There's a couple, they are better at longer distances, but I think, well, maybe I shouldn't say that. This horse was second at 3/4, but still, I think the Turfway just gives the horse a huge edge.
If I could do my most vulnerable favorite on the card, it would be this Limoncello Spritz. I hate horses that bleed through Lasix because it could easily happen at any other time, right? So I would not take a low price in here. And well, as you said, you bring up all the great points. This Chirkop barn is off to a great start. You and I love Quiet Madalena today, but these are 2 horses from this barn that have terrible form coming up from the States, but they are winter raced. That's why I went towards Mardine. At least Mardine is changing something. The blinkers are coming off here today, so I thought, you know what? That's good enough for me in this field. I'll take a shot.
Well, that, and I think arguably Turfway is way tougher than Charlestown.
Agreed. And seems to me to be a bit of a safer kind of play in this race. She might not win the race, but I'm far more confident that she's going to run well than a lot of the other horses.
And actually, this barn has done pretty well, all things considered, with the couple of starters that they've had. They had a good second at a good price, and then they finished third with another horse as well. So that gets us through the 8-race program that we have coming your way today, including that stakes event for the season. We are going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll discuss Glocker Report. We'll talk about plays of the day. We'll bring Robert into the mix as well.
Love horse racing? HPIBet.com is Canada's leader in online horse betting. Access thousands of live races from hundreds of tracks worldwide instantly. Enjoy the most advanced betting tools like AI Smart Picks and exclusive cashback rewards you won't get anywhere else. Join today and get up to $100 in free bets. Get the ultimate horse betting experience with HPIBet.com.
Well, Well, as promised, we are going to take a look at these clocker horses that are on today's program. Mike DiPaolo sends out Super Sporty. That horse we'll see on the card listed at 4-1 morning line. And Lakota Lady, this is the Preston Ferris horse, and you talked about this one as well.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll get 8-1 or not. I realize she's a maiden, but she's run like some pretty good races this portion of her career, and the way the barn's going so far right now is impressive. I think Super Sporty is a bit of a frustrating horse for the DiPaolo outfit, because I think Super Sporty is a great workhorse,
right,
and has made it onto this board in the past as a 2-year-old. Did have a decent year last year with a victory, and maybe as an older horse might be a little bit more mature right now.
Well, and the other thing too is the point on Lakota Lady is that this horse has been working with El Capo. You remember him, right? He's the horse with the big, huge head.
Tomorrow's racing,
and
I think.
he, is on tomorrow's card. Have to look him up fast here and find him. Is he in the stake tomorrow?
I think he's in the big race.
So just kind of keep your eye on that, because if this horse happens to run big, Lakota Lady, then it might be a good reference for El Capo, who, yes, is in the stake tomorrow, but he's facing some bears. Yeah. I mean, Kelsey Danner's got a good one. 2-Out Hero is here to compete. He was a Sovereign Award winner as well, right?
2-Out Hero
was he?
Not.
No, he was not. He was nominated,
Correct.
Argos was the winner.
Yes, had a nice chat with the owner of Argos, and he says, I can't wait to come back.
Good.
I guess when you win a grade 1, you want to come back.
I know he was a big fan of our turf course.
Yes, he
as
said
well.
that during his speech, yeah.
Oh, don't worry, I was tuned in and watching. I know it's nice to get dressed up, but it's really nice to watch it with a bag of potato chips sitting on the couch in your jammies.
I bet it is.
I'm going, ha ha, Jeff. Alrighty, so let's talk about some of our picks for the afternoon as well. Let's see what you got first.
So Quiet Madalena is going to be my multi-leg single coming up in the pick 5. My speed to run at is Luz de la Luna. I do like the fact that Bound to Be True is winter train. And I really like the way that Day to Day ran first time out off the bench in that most recent event. And because of that, I'm going to stick with Day to Day coming up here. Savachi rides for Safi Joseph.
Awesome. Okay, let's see what I got, and we can compare notes here. I'm same with you. Quiet Madalena in the second. I'll give the edge to Sobiak in race number 4. Tequila Supernova has the need for speed, but I do suggest you play this horse with Bound to Be True, the Nathan Squires horse, and this Beg duo. I mean, they could easily finish 1-2, so I've suggested to use her in an exactor box with her stablemate, just in case the better priced of the 2 horse gets the nod. Quiet Madalena is a top selection from Doug McPherson as well. Top selection from a lot of us here today. Let's Stella Luna for Ron Gearkink, who we're kind of excited to see if this horse gets claimed back, just to keep that trend going for that particular mare. And then, of course, we will bring in Robert Geller, who has a couple of good plays of the day. Sipping History from the Beg Barn, Golden Thread, a horse at 10-1 in the morning line. That's one awesome thing about Robert Geller. He always likes to bring in a horse at a price. He's looking for that value play. And Robert, this horse that you've got in the 7th race, Golden Thread, is the Ian Hardy horse. I'm with you too. I think this horse is here for the synthetic surface. How about you?
Yeah, I was looking at that replay from Keeneland and had the outside gate. It was a sloppy track. The pace was pressured, and I thought Golden Thread really ran well. This official placing, I guess it was a 5th place finish, dropping off in the last furlong, but not as dramatically as it might appear because of the margin. Made a very good bid towards the lead, never on the track, fanned wide after having made a really big attack to the turn into the stretch, and started to gradually fade. But Keeneland very much often produces big margins that don't necessarily mean that that was a poor performance behind. I think the previous runs, as you indicate, at Turfway Park, Elisa, were good, and I like the ability to be able to stalk in this field, and I think from the inside gate, Pietro Morin has a really good chance to do that. I do think it's very deep in terms of possibilities. I loved the run of Day to Day. I agree with Jeff. It was the eye-catching run, and they're the 2 horses that stood out to me on replays.
Okay, so we're going to bring Robert back in shortly because he's got a pick 3 that he wants to pass along, and I'd keep a good eye out on that one because he gave us some good ones last year that paid good money.
Pro Heart was a nice winner for him that he
Very
gave us
good, yeah. Very
this past weekend. But here's a look at our pick 5 ticket that we're going to put together in here, and our chips are all in here on Quiet Madalena. We got the rail, which is great.
Good
we've
works.
got a horse, and the barn had a very nice horse come off the bench to kick off the season here at Woodbine. We probably should have pressed the all button in race 3 because we're dropping one horse.
That's
there,
right, yeah.
But, oh well. 4th race, we got Sobiak and Save the Dates. We've got the Speed of Tequila Supernova and Bound to Be True. I think we've got the 6th race covered. We got the two bags.
Jeff, I'm smelling a winner here.
Oh, winner, chicken dinner. I like it. And guess who the star of the Sovereign Awards was? It was Robert Geller, because all his great race calls, although I did feel bad for him. One of them, he's like, hey,
I did too.
The winner is the 4-horse. He was so sick on that day.
I was like, that's the race you're going to choose to show?
Yeah, so Robert, we apologize. We had to squeeze in one of your sick replays.
Immediately I took a glass of water.
Okay, Robert, what about this pick 3 you got?
Okay, I really like the class fields in a race program, and I think the best quality races are later in the program, and I think there's a lot more chance of winning a pick 3 or a pick 4 or a pick 6, etc. if you go for the better class quality. So in 5th race, I really love Tequila Supernova and Bound to Be True, and as you've indicated, their form lines are solid, they're different styles. I do think Tequila Supernova is the one to beat, but Bound to Be True has a really good ability to reel runners in, and I didn't mind the 2nd place finish or what was behind Our Lady early in the season last year, has seasoning now, may do very well. They're my 2 in that race, and then we go to what I think is another very intriguing matchup for the James Bentley Begg runners, where Pageant Queen and Sipping History match each other in work tabs. Because it's Lasic's first time and a stakes placed for Sipping History has had some excuses, I'm going to go Sipping History as my top pick, Pageant Queen my 2nd pick, and throwing in outside of those 2, Alluring Amy, who you've also indicated could be a little dangerous. The barn is off to a very good start. The 3rd leg's interesting. This is the stakes feature where Golden Thread is my top pick, Day to Day is my 2nd pick, and for value I put in Likely Story. I like the fact that Likely Story is a $250,000 purchase, and the dam is Karen. And you're looking at a horse who's by charlatans, so some of those horses who are bred outside of Ontario are also by the same size, so I don't think it's a big difference, and I liked the progression from what was a 2nd appearance to now having, as you indicated, an Ocala seasoning in the off-season. So they're my 3, and I do think that we're getting some interesting shippers in today, so I think there's a little bit of value in that 3rd leg.
Well, we were going back at the beginning of the show and talking about some of the stats, like where some of the winners came from, what the best post positions were. Was it speed or was it a horse who was sitting off of the early speed? Robert, what were some of your observations from opening weekend?
Well, certainly speed was very solid, but I suppose I noticed as we got further into the weekend, horses who were just close to the pace were winning, and some of the speed did have to really struggle to finish it off, so it wasn't automatically just a speed track. It was very difficult for closers. There was some very good performances from certain barns, as we saw John Mattini, off to a terrific start, and so was Deborah Rhombus, Robert Tiller, Stephen Chirkop. So they were definitely hot barns. I think the key for me is that when we look at small fields and we sometimes think, well, let's put in the favorites, but there have been so many examples even in the first weekend that you can get value, and I think that sometimes we get a lot of overbet horses in these short fields. They're a bit bigger fields today, but I do think that don't let that deter you, because if you like a horse, sometimes horses are underbet and sometimes they're certainly overbet, and we did see that.
All right, so some great observations from Robert. Wish you all the best of luck today. Hopefully it doesn't get much foggier. I'd love to see the sun come out.
Yeah.
Maybe tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow.
Maybe. All righty, Robert will be calling the action today as per usual. And as we mentioned off at the top, we did have that notification, that news that we passed along that Patrick Husbands has announced his retirement yet again. And we showed you that quote just because we aren't sure if maybe this really is the end or if we will see him come back, because as he had mentioned, he might wake up one day and decide that he's ready to rock and roll again. But for now, we will treat it as breaking news that Patrick Husbands has announced his retirement. We'll take a look back at his great career as we wish him all the best.
Earlier on this week, it was announced who the class of 2024 was going to be for the Hall of Fame. What went through your mind when you got the phone call?
Yeah, I get it from Jim, and wow, it was a dream come true. Sitting with the top riders of Canada all these years, and to get that award is stunning.
He came, he saw, he conquered. 30 years ago, a young jockey by the name of Patrick Husbands took a leap of faith and left his home and home track in Barbados to take on the very best at Woodbine Racetrack, Canada's showplace of racing. Trainers and owners quickly took notice of the talented rider. 4 years after his arrival at Woodbine, Husbands won 134 races, but the best was yet to come for the pride of Bridgetown.
And the winner is Patrick Husband.
Riding titles, sovereign awards as the country's most outstanding rider, and the go-to jock for the big races, Husband cemented himself as one of Canada's all-time greats.
Patrick Husbands asks him for his heart, and he opens up.
His crowning moment came in 2003 when he partnered Wando to Canadian Triple Crown glory, taking a legion of fans along for one of the most exciting chapters in the country's racing history.
Wando was better than wonderful this afternoon. He was magnificent.
Now in his 30th year at Woodbine, the future Hall of Famer is still adding to his long list of accomplishments.
And it's going to be his 3,000th victory.
Over 3,600 wins and counting, he remains a formidable force.
Husband keeps the win, tosses the helmet way up in the air.
Racing royalty in Barbados and a Midas touch in the irons, Patrick Husband's thrill ride is one of legend and legacy.